singer of Hop Along, the indie rock band, which I am a big fan of, Frances Quinlan has seen fit to go solo for this new release here. And it sure as hell feels like a solo release as well. It differs quite a bit from what Hop Along are usually doing. I feel like she's reining in her vocals a little bit more on this album too, which I think matches a lot of the instrumentals, which are very soft and delicate at times. Very little is going on at times though on these tracks. They're just very simple little acoustic type tracks that don't have a great deal of melody or really that much added extra instrumentation to meet up the tracks, which I think some of these songs do need. Frances has a very characterful voice, which often is very much in the need of just lashing out and going wild, just like she does in a lot of Hop Along's songs. And it's great when she does it, when she just lets out, unleashes that weirdness. It really adds a cool quirk to what they do as a band, and that kind of sets them apart from a lot of other bands around. Whereas I think on this solo album it just feels a little too safe and simple at times. Luckily though, it is very nice on the ears at times. I mean, the closing track with that harmony, it is just so cute with the we get that classic Frances Quinlan vocal performance on the track Went to LA as well, with the way that she whelps out Ebenezer II. That's a really good moment on the album. And I would say the two highlights in terms of tracks have got to be the tracks 2 and then 3. Your Reply and then Rare Thing. Rare Thing being easily the best track of the whole thing for me. This one reminds me a little bit of Imogen Heap for some reason. I can't quite pinpoint what exactly it is that reminds me of her, but there's something about it. Maybe it's the instrumental on this one. Kind of reminds me of some of the stuff that she was doing in the 2000s. I'm not sure what it is. Maybe it's because I've been listening to her quite a lot recently, maybe. Don't know. There's a great lyric on this one as well where she's just pondering about love, and then she brings out the line where she's like, there has to be a love that isn't just about taking something from somebody. I think that's such a great line, because I feel like a lot of relationships or things that we expect from the people we love can often be a bit too much. Like, we're taking so much from the other person and we forget that, you know, it's not just about that. It's very hard to strike that balance of, you know, giving and taking, that compromise of making sure that, you know, you're not giving too much and not allowing yourself to take anything. That's really hard. That's a really hard thing. That's one thing I think that ends up breaking relationships up ultimately in the end. Like, that's definitely one of the biggest things I've experienced in my like relationships in life. And I just love the way she words that line. That's such a good way to word it. And like that idea, like there has to be another way, and I just love that little line. It's only one line in the song, but yeah, she words that incredibly well. It's why I anticipated this album so much, because I thought if this is going to be a solo album from Frances Quinlan, then there's going to be amazing lyrics here and there, because there are some fantastic ones in Hop Along's catalogue too, which, excuse me, Ricky pointed out really fantastically in his Hiding Songs video that I think he did back in December. I will link that actually somewhere on the video. Maybe I'll put like a title card. It might hover up here or something. Because that was such a good video, and he pointed out how Frances just words things so damn well, and she does. Your Reply just has a fantastic little guitar melody that I adore. That's one thing about like this track, especially. Like, I just end up adoring how it sounds. Like, she just has this lovely way of crafting these tracks. It just gets to a point though on the album where it's like, yeah, you did that on the other song, and it's getting a bit samey. That's kind of the issue here, which I don't know is something that you can say about Hop Along's music generally, but this album particularly is very short, and there's just not really enough variety across the whole thing. It is a very warm and intimate album, but there are other albums like this that do this quite a bit better, and I think that's ultimately what drags this album down for me. I just doubt I'll be thinking about this album 3-4 months down the line, to be honest. But I do like it overall. I think it's pretty nice and sweet. Some things I've said about some of the tracks here apply to quite a good chunk of the tracks on the whole thing, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. but it just doesn't quite grip me in the ways I want it to. It's nice, but ultimately it's a 6 out of 10 from me. It's nothing too gripping. You know, it's just not gripping me the whole way through, which is a bit of a shame. But I still think it's good overall because still think a 6 out of 10 is an admirable score. So if you're loving this album, don't be too mad at me. I do think Francis is fantastic, and yeah, let me know what you think of this album. If you think it's great, tell me in the comments. Have a good day. Subscribe if you haven't already, and goodbye.